It's very nice to see the work on sickle cell disease recognized.
Gratitude for national recognition. Recipients of honors and awards shared with us following their moment in the spotlight. Plus, the future of the Petro-Caribe Agreement. Stakeholders tell us the outlook is nothing but positive. And later, we stop to remember a fallen colleague and show you why late photographer Michael Shaw meant so much to the JIS family. I'm Theodore Henry, guiding you through today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Welcome.
Good day, I'm Andrea Chizom and this is your JIS News for Thursday, October 22. About 30 entrepreneurs with innovative ideas will benefit from grants being offered by the Development Bank of Jamaica DBJ as part of efforts to boost micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. This follows Wednesday's official launch of the Innovation Grant from New Ideas to Entrepreneurship Ignite project.
A grant of up to $4 million Jamaican dollars, or 70% of a project cost, will be provided for implementing innovation activities to support the creation and growth of entrepreneurs and new firms in strategic sectors.
The grant funding and other MSME enhancing facilities offered by the DBJ will be accessed through business service intermediaries who will evaluate the business plans. To facilitate that, a memorandum of cooperation was signed by the DBJ, the private sector organization of Jamaica, Jamaica Manufacturers Association, Branson Center for Entrepreneurship, and the Jamaica Business Development Corporation. The business service intermediaries will also help to administer DBJ's credit enhancement facility and the voucher for technical assistance. 100 high-performing farmers recently got training in environmental best practices and the use of personal protective equipment. The On-Farm Environmental Management Workshop was recently conducted as part of the IDB-funded Agricultural Competitiveness Program.
It is our firm belief, ladies and gentlemen, that even as we place greater emphasis on increased production and productivity, it is also critically important to ensure the care and preservation of the agro-environment.
The training also focused on practices to secure the health and well-being of the farmers. They were also presented with kits containing basic protective gear. $2.2 million was spent to conduct the training and to supply the kits. 55 residents were recently certified as environmental wardens after 3 days of rigorous training in sustainable waste management practices, laws and regulations. They are among 164 people in 30 underserved communities who are being trained, certified and gazetted as legal officers to enforce regulations and requirements under the National Solid Waste Management Act. It's part of the World Bank-funded Integrated Community Development Project, which is being implemented by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund over 3 years at a cost of $100 million. The latest group of environmental wardens are from 9 communities in the parishes of Clarendon, St. Anne, St. James and Westmoreland. At their certification ceremony, Environment Minister Robert Pickersgill urged them to use the training to foster awareness among residents about the need to protect the environment.
It's a serious job you have, because we have not been protective of the environment and it has now come back to haunt us. But we give it a fancy name, climate change.
Government is implementing a number of initiatives to ensure that Jamaica's aviation system continues to be ranked among the best in the world. That assurance has come from Dr. Maurice Guy, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Transport, Works and Housing. He says particular attention is being placed on the International Civil Aviation Authority standards and recommended practices.
Jamaica remains steadfast in its mission of facilitating a safe and efficient air transportation system. Work continues amongst the civil aviation counterparts across the North American and Caribbean region in an effort to achieve the regional Port of Spain Declaration goal of 80% effective implementation of ICAO standards and recommended practices by 2016.
Dr. Guy was addressing a recent meeting of the International Civil Aviation Organizations Council held in Montego Bay. Jamaica is currently ranked above world average in terms of safety and security standards. And finally, public school teachers and other staff will start receiving their newly increased salaries and allowances next Monday, October 26. The new rates, which were negotiated as part of the 2015-2017 Heads of Agreement, should have been paid today, in line with government's monthly payment schedule. But the Education Ministry says it was unable to meet that deadline due to the magnitude of work involved in computing the new salaries and allowances and given the short work week. The ministry says the Jamaica Teachers Association has agreed to the payment being made on Monday, and trade unions for non-academic staff are being similarly consulted. The retroactive portion of the new salaries and allowances will be paid in November. And that's it for JIS News Today. Amandra Chisholm, thank you for watching.
The JIS Heritage Essay Competition is here again. If you're a primary or preparatory school student aged 9 to 12, you may enter. Write an essay on the topic, A Day in the Life of My Favorite National Hero. Ensure your essay is 400 to 500 words. Include a title page and list of references, with JIS being one of the sources. And submit the essay using the application form on the JIS website, jis.gov.jm. Deadline is Saturday, October 31, 2015. So start writing your essay today! For more information, contact the Jamaica Information Service at 926-374-026, extension 2137 or 2023, or email heritageessay@jis.gov.jm.
Time to talk energy and the benefits we've already seen under the Petrocaribe Energy Cooperation Agreement between Venezuela and a number of Caribbean and Latin American countries. The partnership was strengthened last month, 10 years after it was signed. And as we hear in this next feature, the partnership will continue to produce positive results.
Through the Petrocaribe Agreement, Petrocaribe Development Fund (PDF) has been enabled to invest in Jamaica's continued advancement, and their commitment remains firm to reshape the nation through economic and social transformation. However, every revolution has challenges in order to get to the desired outcome. The PDF faces an uphill climb, which has been compounded by an unstable economic climate.
I think we should recognize that the Petrocaribe Agreement between the government of Venezuela and Jamaica and other countries in the Caribbean and Central America has been one of the most far-reaching developments in international politics over many, many decades. It's a tremendous example of South-South cooperation, but beyond that, it has assisted us greatly in Jamaica in relieving some of the pressures on our balance of payments by allowing us to convert some of the amounts due for the payment of oil into long-term debt at very, very favorable rates. We have been able to guarantee the repayment of the debt. The main issue for us has been, one, to guarantee repayment, to ensure that the assets are properly maintained and that the repayment schedules are in fact adhered to, and at the same time to take advantage of these particular provisions that would allow for the development of a long-term relationship with Venezuela.
The Petrocaribe Energy Corporation agreement is a 25-year agreement, so despite the challenges, all deliverables have to be met.
There have been many significant benefits flowing from the Petrocaribe agreement, and one that I would like to emphasize is the fact that the agreement allows for member states to utilize resources from the proceeds to get involved into renewable energy, which is to enable them to lower their dependence on imported fossil fuel. And that is a noble objective, seeing that the aim of the agreement was to supply fossil fuel.
In previous summits, it would have concentrated on a number of other issues. For example, in 2013, there was a discussion about the development of the Petrocaribe Economic Zone, in which ALBA member countries and some members of the Petrocaribe who are not members of ALBA got together and decided that we needed to go beyond just the financing arrangement in terms of oil and energy, but we needed to look at a whole range of economic activities that would enhance the overall development and cooperation within the region.
Jamaica will also be capitalizing from the technical expertise available through the agreement.
Arising out of the arrangement with Petrocaribe, the Petrocaribe arrangement, the PDVSA, the national oil company of Venezuela, bought 49% equity in Petrojam, the oil refinery. So the shares are now split, PCJ owning 51% and PDVSA having 49%. And a big part of that arrangement was for PDVSA and PCJ to invest in the upgrading of the refinery, which would see us increasing the capacity from 35,000 barrels per day to 50,000 barrels per day, making pretty much all the products that Jamaica requires, both environmentally and quantity-wise. And then we would pretty much meet all the fuel requirements for Jamaica. The expansion would see us putting in additional processing units and spending somewhere in the region of about $1 billion, just under $1 billion US dollars to carry that out over about a 3-year period. And at the end of that, we would have a fairly, in fact, a very modern, efficient refinery that would be able to compete with any refinery in this region, certainly with Trinidad, the US refiners, and improve our profitability, improve our balance of trade between us and, say, Trinidad, because we buy a lot of finished products from Trinidad, and as well allow us to do some export to the regional markets as well.
The PDF is planning for the changes that will come. But until then, the revolution must continue. A revolution that will result in the vulnerable benefiting from concessions made through the purchase of oil. It is a revolution that will empower the Caribbean and Latin American countries to push forward the promise echoed in the letter to Jamaica.
Soy de usted, etcétera, etcétera. Bolívar.
Don't make diseases spread. Wash your hands with soap and water instead. Wash them regular or use a hand sanitizer. Make sure the germs them dead. Touching your eyes or your mouth or your nose. Wash your hands before you do things like those. After you use the bathroom before preparing food, come on, wash your hand them clean.
From the disciplines of academia, medicine, public service, sports, politics, and national security, 222 people received national awards at a ceremony on Heroes Day. The JIS was at King's House covering this important event. We also caught up with a few awardees right after the ceremony.
I feel very humbled and very privileged to have received this award today.
I feel honored. I'm excited about it. And I really can't believe it because normally I'm the one who is making sure people get accolades and people are honored and so on. So when I'm on the receiving end, it's a little I have to pinch myself.
When I started out in teaching, I never really expected that anything like this would happen, and you don't really work for a reward, you work, the work itself is a reward. And especially when you're an educator, your reward comes in seeing the young people that you teach mature and take their place, and that alone is a major reward.
It's meant so much to me for my country to recognize what I've been doing all these years, and for them to give me this award. It means so much to me.
The Badge of Honor for Gallantry, Dr. Rickard Shane Bennett.
Your concern for yourself, just completely disappears, and basically just thinking about just trying to save this man's life.
It's a good thing because it's what you really merit. You really, get because the people see. I know some people say, Ras, you should get all them things from a long time. And I'm say, well, time is just now.
Well, I was very surprised initially to get a letter, and then to be awarded the Order of Jamaica is a fantastic honour for me, coming from Ireland, and on behalf of all my colleagues here in Digicel and around the world, it's really wonderful.
I feel very privileged and honored to get this award. I worked with a lot of hard-working people over the years that were dedicated. They're my ambassadors. They're my success. If they're not successful, I'm not successful.
It's very humbling. You go out to work and try to do your best all the time, and then to be recognized nationally for it is a very humbling position to be in. But it's also very rewarding for the profession.
The JIS Heritage Poster Competition is here again. If you are an artistic teenager, the JIS Heritage Poster Competition is just for you. All registered secondary school students are eligible to enter. All you have to do is this: complete the entry form on the JIS website, jis.gov.jm. Then create a poster using images provided in the picture resources on the JIS website. And the topic? A moment in the life of a Jamaican national hero. Ensure that your poster is no larger than 11 inches by 17 inches and keep a copy of your poster. Posters will be judged on interpretation of the topic, originality, and presentation. Now for the submission details. Upload computer-designed posters using a cloud storage service such as Dropbox, SkyDrive, or Google Drive. Mail or drop off illustrated posters at the JIS head office or Montego Bay office. Deadline for submission is Saturday, October 31, 2015. So come on, unleash your creativity and win lots of prizes. For more information, contact the Jamaica Information Service at 926-374-026, extension 2137, 2023, or email heritageposter@jis.gov.jm. We recently lost a member of the JIS family. Our colleague and friend, photographer Michael Shaw, died suddenly on September 30. He had given more than 30 years of his life to this profession, and today we pay tribute.
Unforgettable, that's what you are. Unforgettable.
Humble, personable, approachable. That was Mr. Shaw. I remember him just being, easygoing, moving about, and, edging his way in to get the perfect shot, the right shot at that moment. He left us so suddenly, and I was here. He has left me with an experience that I can't explain it. The impact of the event on all of us, I cannot begin to explain the level of hurt, of pain for all of us.
Thinks that I am.
He was like a father figure to me, more than a co-worker.
He was a gentle soul, a kind person, and a consummate professional. He will be missed. I actually saw him about an hour and a half before he was at the OPM covering the event with the Japanese Prime Minister. And he went back to the GIS.
We would wish to join the government side in expressing sincere condolences to the family, and just to say to them, sir, that in these times one has to be strong and keep hope alive.
No doubt his work would have impacted on what we do here at the Parliament.
Very, very dedicated. I mean, he gave more than 3 decades of service to JAMPRES and JIS. I mean, this was home for him, and he was among colleagues in his last moments.
He takes his work seriously. We work as a team. Whenever he's in doubt of something, we would get our consultation in regards to it. Even editing his photograph. If any one of us as photographers in the room, we must call one of us and ask what we think about it.
My first interaction with Mr. Shaw was when I was a public affairs officer in '96, and I went on assignment, and he was ever so gentle with me. He got a program, brought it to me, and told me now that I needed to get the names of the persons that he was getting in the shots. I came to rely on Mr. Shaw quite a bit when we went out on assignments, and I looked forward to him being the photographer to work with me.
Oh, when you smiling.
There wasn't really a dull moment around Mr. Shaw. And at times when it is convenient, especially after work, we would hang out, you know, and associate with each other from other media houses and all that.
The day in question, Dave, Reed, Mark Bell, myself, Charlie, and Greg, we were by the airport. Mr. Shaw, the person we know him to be, he loves a good joke. And Mark Bell, we were talking about some issues. So I said, all right, oh, Shaw know about it, man. So I called Shaw, who was by OPM, so we said something about Mark Bell, and listen, at the first I ever hear my friend laugh, persons by OPM, so man, and what you tell the man, sir? The man nearly dropped a gun on the roll, the way I laugh. And as I understood it, later that day, when he came back here and saw Bell, he started laughing at him again.
I was on the last assignment with him at OPM, and I joked with him and said, I have to come on these important official assignments to see you, Mr. Shaw. And he turned it back on me and said, no, it's you who I have to, who I see when I come on these assignments. And we were jostling and just ribbing each other. So I'm at lunch, and we were together in the lobby of the executive building at OPM. And I just never knew, you know, but I'm happy that that was my last encounter with him. Very pleasant, and one that I will certainly cherish.
And I never thought I'd feel this way. And as far as I'm concerned,
8 years ago when I broke my foot, I was living alone then. I was bedridden, and let me tell you something. My friend not left me an inch. Every evening, well, if he's not working late, he comes, sit down with me and him reason. They will call him, say, what you want? I say, Bridget, I say, no, man, what you want? So if I apple, pineapple, coconut, sometimes we just sit down, and a weekend he can check me. I wait that. That's the measure, my friend.
Knowing you can always count on me. For sure, that's what friends are for good times.
And from the other day, he said, boy, yo, I want to see you, I want to see you, I want to see you. He said he was going to be busy, but if he talk, he said, oh, by the way, I want to see you later. So I was at home waiting for my friend to come. Check me. And I got the news. Trust me, shake me. I know my friend not come yet. But me say, friend. Love's a good joke. You name it. Miss my friend.
Never can say goodbye. No. Never can say goodbye. Even though the pain and heartache seems to follow me wherever I go. Though I tried to hide my feelings, they always seem to show.
Life is all about making decisions, choosing from a number of options to do a particular thing, which may result in a specific outcome.
It can be difficult, but there are 4 things you can do to help make that decision.
Stop. Check out what's happening and remind yourself to think before acting.
Think. Make sure you're aware of the choices, all the advantages and disadvantages. Then think about the consequences.
Act. Choose the best option and do something about it.
Review.
Finally, review what you have done and determine if it was good or bad. That way, you'll be in a better position to make the next decision, whether big or simple.
This is where we say so long. But please join us again tomorrow, same time, same station, for another insightful program. Until then, keep the link via our website, jis.gov.jm. We welcome your feedback, so keep sending your comments to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the production crew, I'm Theodore Henry. Pleasant viewing.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.